play safe, watch safe. You know, the safety mechanics are for you guys too. Always do the right thing for you. Thank you very much. Now on to the thing we just warned you about.
Little by little, piece by piece, I take back what's been stolen from me. Little by little, piece by piece, until I'm complete. I got my eyes on you, and you got no clue what I'm supposed to do. I can't help myself. Little by little, piece by piece, I take back what's been stolen from me. Little by little, piece by piece, until I'm complete. No, you wouldn't take what's not yours. If you know who I am, when the night will fall, I'll haunt your dream. Little by little, piece by piece, I take back what's been stolen from me.
Sure, real is. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Place of Wrath and Tears. Once again, always take care of your back of the house because they make you look absolutely fucking fantastic. Thank you for coming to game tonight. Thank you for being here for the 2-year anniversary of live streams. We're going to do a lot more. There's more coming. We hope you enjoy it. Tonight, we're going to play a little bit of Cult. And we have our really great friend, Samara Metzler, here, who is going to spook the hell out of you. And we are going to have a lot of fun. So let us kind of start where we left off with Bethany Van Horst waking up from what, for the first time probably in a long time, she hopes wasn't a dream, with the smell of iron oxide paint and of dairy farm in her nose, which is kind of weird. It's a weird smell to positively associate with. But here we are, and at least there are some other sensory impressions that came with that balance it all out.
Wow. So yes, she took a nap and woke up with this impression of where someone she's been looking for is. And she knows Claire's gone off somewhere because she said she was gonna take a nap about it instead of whatever else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you can always nap away a rampant heroin addiction. That's just a facial mask and a snooze away.
So, yeah, I think that Bethany's just gonna go try to find her because she's currently cross with her siblings.
Yes. The first person you find is Matthew because you can hear his voice. Elon's fine. He just couldn't be here tonight. He's okay. And so where you find Matthew is on the phone. And you are hearing him use a voice that he hasn't used in a long time. And this is his emulating Papa Mal voice, his business voice, his boardroom voice, his I'm not very happy voice. And you recognize that as that all of the control that Matthew talks about, he is exercising right now. He puts his hand over the receiver and informs you that apparently at midnight last night, someone just threatened to strike across all of the Union steel mills that are the crux of the Van Horst fortune.
Mm.
And that something has happened with the union negotiations or something in the contract that all of a sudden everybody is up in arms about. It's a little weird.
Mhm.
Like, definitely, like, put a little question mark next to all of this for another day. But he's going to be stuck on the phone trying to trying to do his part to talk down a crippling labor strike.
Mhm.
Now, also, the Van Horst's opinion of a labor strike is not the opinion of the Van Horst's players on labor strikes.
Very true. As we're along here, he would say.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So you find your sister. Clara, the last thing I remember with you is that you were chatting up the poor lady at the front of the hotel.
Very sweet lady who's just the neighborhood gossip and so nice, and tried to tip her, and that was the one wrong step that I took.
Yes.
Claire's learning that, but she got a fair amount of information about the nice restaurant and when church services are and all of those little things. So, but once she got her information and kind of said, well, I really, really hope that we can find Annette. We've missed her. We've missed her. I hope she gets back here soon. If you hear anything, please let me know. You've been a delight, and kind of goes away. And
Okay,
is
great.
probably headed back to the rooms to see if Bethany is awake yet.
Mhm.
Okay. Bethany, you are awake.
I am awake. It's true. Mm.
And Clara pauses at Matthew's room, listens for a few moments, and is not touching that.
Oh, yeah.
He is dealing with it. He's already a little mad at her, too. She's just going to go back into now her and Bethany's room.
It might actually be for the best that he has someone else to be angry and controlling at right now, as gross as that is to say.
Yeah. Yeah, so she heads back into the room she's currently sharing with Bethany. And are you awake?
Yes.
Good. How are you feeling?
I needed to sleep. That was better. Had an interesting dream.
Oh?
I think there's some place we might need to go.
Because you dreamt it?
Yes.
Like Metropolis? Those
No.
dreams? Okay.
Like, there's a dairy farm like 20 minutes down the road.
Oh, okay. We can go. I can tell you what they told me at the front desk while we go. Do you want David to drive?
Probably for the best.
Okay. Let's go find him and we can get the cup. What are we supposed to be finding there?
Do you remember the lady at the Royal Phoenix Society?
The lady, the one that walked out with the lawyer before everything happened.
Yes.
Yes, clearly.
Her.
Oh. Well, she was useful. She was quite helpful, actually.
She's here, I think.
That's interesting. The woman at the front desk told me that there is somebody in town who people go to when they are too desperate, too sick. Somebody's making deals with devils, so to speak. Do you think that's her?
Could be. I don't know.
I think it's who we need to talk to. So let's find David
Mhm.
and take a ride. It'd be very, very nice if we could find some place with coffee on the way, because they don't serve it in this town.
How long are we going to stay here?
Not long.
Good.
Only as long as we need. I really could use coffee. Instead, Clara goes into the suitcase and gets out the bottle of whiskey that's in there.
That's healthy.
Yeah. At least they brought their own whiskey. She never imagined they would have to bring their own coffee. I would die. But she's feeling a little shaky. She's definitely in the hour 12 at this point. Oh no, maybe 14. Yeah, she's not feeling great. So she takes a heavy shot of whiskey.
Well, you know, let's see how both of you are doing. So let's roll for
Oh,
schizophrenia
yeah.
and addiction. Let's actually roll some dice.
That makes sense.
Kudos.
Knock the crust off.
Oh, I'm doing okay.
Okay.
11.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Because I
Did you-
rolled a 10. Let me see.
Yeah.
It's going to knock me down anyway. If it's 1 or 2, it doesn't matter.
As soon as you said wait, I was like, she rolled a 10.
I did. I rolled a 10. So that's a 9 or an 8. I'm not sure where she is on stability. But
Oh no, wait. Oh, I'm still at a 10.
Okay.
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 Yeah.
So I think, Erica, I don't feel a need to add anything to your description of Clara's current mood because I feel like that is a one move
Yeah.
addiction. Like, I feel like that's fine. Bethany, you are not okay.
Nope.
Um,
Sure, I'm not.
it is, I think that a lot of what you're going to experience at this moment is going to be sensory related. Lots of doubling or tripling of sensory impressions, lots of things having the wrong texture, having the air feel funny.
Hate that.
Yeah, it is the worst. Like the dust when you guys shortly walk out of the hotel, and the radioactive murderous dust rolls down the main street, and it doesn't feel like just like little flecks of plutonium, of irradiated like death promise brushing across your face. It feels like moth wings. Like not the hard metallic feeling of like flies or bees. It's kind of that soft, feathery, velvety sort of vibe. Which is appropriate because when you touch moth wings, some of them, it comes off.
Sure it does.
Yeah.
That's why I hate them.
Yeah.
You know.
If David were a cat, his hair would be radiating at exactly perpendicular angles to the surface of his skin. He is wound very, very tight. He is not particularly thrilled with this town. He is not twitchy, but you are fairly certain that if somebody walked up to David right now and grabbed his shoulder, even in a normal, because apparently normal people touch each other without talking about it, and it's so weird, like in a normal for the time way, that they would cease to exist from the mid bicep down. So yeah, David either needs walkies or he needs to be put somewhere else in the near future. So I think we're all feeling the timer on the radioactive teetotaler town.
David, we need
Ma'am?
to take a drive about 20 minutes. Could you tell which road it was down? The major highway, northwest?
Back the way we came, we passed it. The dairy
Okay.
farms that we passed.
Back that way. If we encounter something on the way that you can handle quietly, and you need to get... I would like coffee. I understand you are also in a mood. We need to get Bethany 20 minutes back the way we came. If we are lucky, we can handle all three of these things at once.
Are you asking me to drop you off at wherever Miss Bethany would like to go and then go find you coffee? Or are you asking me to hope that there is a diner 10 minutes down the road?
Drop us off. go find coffee and go take care of yourself somewhere that isn't this town, and then come back for us.
Okay. He's giving you that look like, do you mean take care of yourself or take care of yourself? He's not going to ask. He's not ready to ask directly if he's been permissioned to commit a random murder or 6.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just trying to communicate that information with his eyebrows.
Clara's giving him the proud smile, and it's the exact same smile she gave him when she took him on walkies the first time to murder that orderly.
Okay.
It's
He groks it, or at least you think he does, or at least he chooses to interpret it in the way that's more favorable to him, which is probably closer to the truth. And he cracks his neck, and when he cracks his neck, it doesn't sound like bones cracking. It sounds like fuses blowing. That glassy pop. And he says, I will make sure I bring you back some coffee.
Thank you.
And
I trust you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Of course.
And walks you two to the car, holds the door. Is there anything else you want to do before you get on the road?
The thing that Bethany brought with her, Bethany has Clara's paraphernalia with her on her person still, just FYI.
Yes.
Clara does not know this yet, or still. She's not going to tell her, but she still has it because 1, we might need it, and 2, she's not leaving it in the dry town in an empty room.
Oh yeah,
that's not happening.
You are almost entirely certain that what good old what's her name from the hotel that you guys are at probably goes through people's rooms, especially if you can manufacture some sort of cause. Okay.
Yeah.
And Matthew's there. So. Okay. Bethany, remember, I forget what kind of a car this was, but it is a good car. It is kind of that luxury muscle car sort of vibe. When the engine starts and you feel the rumble of the motor, you do not feel it rumbling in your body, but you actually feel it rumbling in your bones. Like the bones in your legs and feet are being rumbled independently of the flesh around them. It's, a variation on the ants under my skin sort of vibe. It's great.
Good day.
Yeah. So you head south. Back the way you came.
Bring the whiskey because she wants some.
Looking for a freshly painted iron oxide red barn next to a dairy farm. This should be fairly easy. But lady, where you are, is there a coffee maker?
There sure might be.
There sure might be. There's really no one there with you that's in a state to make a pot of coffee.
No.
Is that something that you think you would do yourself?
If I was receiving appropriate company.
Do you think they're worth it?
Of course.
Okay. So this is probably one of those fantastic solid stainless steel models that's of unreasonable size. Looks like the Church of Latter-day Saints stops at the town border, or this is a farmer that doesn't follow those rules.
That's lovely.
Mm-hmm.
We can't have heroin. Coffee will momentarily do. Claire's gently crawling out of her skin the entire car ride and is chain smoking out the window.
I love that we have the same terrible sensory things happening for completely different reasons.
Wow. Okay. Yes, the barn is found. Bethany, it is there. The smell is there, although it's being spoiled by your sister's cigarettes. It's not the exact smell. Now there's other things here. There's all these people and David and Clara and the car with their meat and their metal and all of the other things that weren't here when you got your first impressions of it. And it's hard to not have it ruined. It's so annoying when this shitty, dirty illusion pushes its way into your nice things and makes them gross.
Yeah.
David turns down the lane, presumably that you give him the instructions to go down. It looks like there's a little bit of a road that goes past the barn, so it looks like, and you can see like a farmhouse, which isn't the capital V farmhouse, and a couple other things, and then the road continues past the farm. So it looks like this was probably a road that was for the farm that looks like it has been extended for something else. I mean, and we're not talking like 25 miles of twisting switchbacks way out into the nothing. This is maybe a half or a quarter of a mile, just enough for some privacy. Probably where somebody could get land. And when you drive down this road, the things that you see are first of all, the road is a classic compressed gravel, low infrastructure road. So this is gravel, probably some tar that has been rolled out and stamped down. Probably in this part of the country at this time, this far away from any real infrastructure, maybe even by hand. So it's a decent road because there's like no, there's winter here. No, yeah, it's abused, and what's interesting is that the rain and the weather and just the existing, everything wears down by existing, and what you're seeing when you look past the road is almost looks like something has clawed and bitten at the edge of the road. It's probably just lazy people not bothering to trim up and lay the edges of the road very nicely, but it really, really looks like something has been chewing on this road. Like the desert and the mountains have been offended by this black tarry intrusion and have gnawed on it the way an animal gnaws on an infected foot. Yeah. Look, if you don't like my gross descriptive prose, you're in the wrong place. Yeah. Sarcasm. Okay. David comes to a not drink spillingly abrupt, but a rather abrupt stop. And when he does, what you guys have gone around is a little bit of a hill, and there is no shit a Sears home, kind of like in between two hills, nice and shaded, protected from the wind. For those of you that don't know, Sears delivered homes for many decades, and they would bring you essentially a flatbed of materials, which was everything you needed to build the home and instructions. And they were cheap for the time, but they were quality because that's back when Sears cared. And there are a lot of homes, and their look is so distinct. It's like there's a bunch of Sears homes in my area, because when my area was booming was the height of the Sears home era. So there's at least like a dozen Sears homes in my town, and I love them. Yes, it is painted, it was painted the classic robin's egg blue that was on the cover of the Sears catalog. It is like someone took the catalog picture from the front of the Sears home and put a cat butt on it. Yes. The players have altered. The cats have remained the same. The cats are omni. The cats are all. And it's there. It used to be robin's egg blue. Now it's kind of the faded gross blue of hypothermia. It's the blue of unhealthy blood under not enough skin. It's peeling a little bit. The roof is a little faded. You think that it's kind of that, like, it might be recovered with a lot of time and attention, but on the other hand, the natural process of the destruction of this place is well along, and it might just be better to tear it down and start over. David comes to a stop almost exactly as the house comes into view. It's maybe only like a half a football field away, so he's not doing anything too bad. But he does come to a fairly quick stop and say in a very strange, strained voice, "If you want me to drop you off, this is where I need to drop you off."
Bethany, do you think this is the place?
We are in the right place. I think so.
You are measurably certain. There is nothing else back here.
All right.
Yeah.
David, you have an hour.
I'll work quickly. But he does get out. However, what's interesting is typically David walks around the front of the car, because that is what you are supposed to do. You're supposed to get out of the driver's seat. You're supposed to walk around the front of the car and then open the door. David violates this rule and actually walks around the back of the car. You do not ever at any point see him get closer to the house than he was when he was in the driver's seat when he stopped.
Interesting. What are you feeling, David?
I am feeling that this is something else's territory, and it would be I would like to not go over that barbed wire if I don't have to.
The right place, then, I suspect.
I imagine.
Thank you. Be safe. We'll see you in an hour.
Be safe. I'll see you in an hour.
Clara lights another cigarette and walks across that unseen barbed wire line in front of the car.
It feels like nothing to you.
Yep.
Bethany, is there anything you want to do before you approach the house, or?
No, just go.
Okay, just go.
Just go.
When you cross over some kind of a line, it feels like when the clouds come overhead and block out the sun during a hot day, and it brings that little bit of that cool air. Like, things are still not great, but there is that moment of like, of comfort here. Lady, at the edge of what you have marked out as your domain, as your little territory here, a servant of apocalypse stops. Some terrible, awful thing that is in many ways anathema to everything that you are, halts, Field of Dreams style, at the edge of where you marked and claimed as your territory. And there are two humans there also, both of which are familiar enough to you. One is, of course, familiar in every way that one could be familiar, and the other one less so, but you've met her, you've spoken with her, and you know who she is, and you've seen many, many things through someone else's eyes.
She will wait for them to approach.
Okay. Is she at the front door? Is she in the back?
She is not at the front door. She is anticipating their arrival at the front door, but she's going to make them wait for a moment before she opens that door.
Very good. Okay. Up the steps. Bethany, is this unique? Have you ever been excited to go anywhere that wasn't home before?
Not since we were kids and like Papa would take us all out somewhere, or we convinced Sophie to go get us ice cream when we shouldn't. Like,
Does this feel transgressive?
slightly.
Okay, good. Happy Pride Month. So the steps creak, but they creak the appropriate amount. This is a house that's got a couple of decades sitting on it, and not enough care. It looks like probably it was built and then abandoned, maybe a few years after. There's a very sad story in these walls. This is not a 100-year-old house that's been abandoned for 25. This is a new-ish house that's been abandoned in the same generation of the people that made it, and that is never a story that is warm to the heart. The door is there. It is a screen door with the heavy wood storm door behind it. The screen door is shut. The storm door is almost shut. It's that almost shut where someone just kind of like bumped it with their heel or nudged it with their elbow, and they're not really worried about it going all the way shut.
Bethany, you were the one who dreamt us here. You are the one that has had any sort of contacts, I suspect, with this person. Unless you tell me to, you lead the way. I'm just here to make certain you don't get hurt.
Okay. Bethany will open the screen door and knock on the door that is ajar.
Okay.
Just a minute.
Bethany, someone's here. You were right. Clara, someone's here. She was right.
Good. Bethany
hear
deserves nice things. Going to stand back as an awkward chaperone.
There is what sounds like an exactly appropriate amount of puttering within the house. Things that might be moving in a kitchen, might be moving in a bedroom for exactly the right amount of time until the door opens all the way. And the lady in red is standing there. And she looks like when you were a child and you cut pictures out of magazines and pasted them onto backgrounds from other magazines. So even if they were the same style of art, something doesn't quite fit. That's what she looks like standing in the doorway of this faded, was once cozy house. And her face is different, but you know exactly who this is. And she smiles a beatific smile and says, Bethany Van Horst, to see you in the flesh is an indescribable pleasure.
It has been far, far too long.
Far too long indeed. Won't you come in? Come in. Coffee? Irish coffee?
Yes, thank you.
Please. And she takes a step back and she spreads her arm wide towards a very comfortable looking sitting room. And she looks kind of over Clara's shoulder and goes, oh, does your man not need anything? I had something prepared for him.
No, he's going off on an errand.
Of course.
Thank you, though.
Come in, please come in.
Wait, what? Thank you. And the coffee sounds lovely. What did you have prepared for him?
Just the necessities, of course.
That's incredibly polite of you. if the necessities are what I suspect they are, and are not coffee for him.
I strive to always bring what is needed.
Clara kind of
Please.
looks down the road and is like, can we fetch David back? She might have gotten him a sacrifice.
No,
No,
he's
Car's
gone.
gone.
He's
Car's
GAWN gone.
Right, if he needs
That
dessert.
boy gone.
There's not even a dust on the road anymore.
Yeah.
He gone.
Yeah.
Like he Looney Tuned out of there.
Clara sighs for a moment and goes, I think we've lost him already. He needs dessert. I will be certain to bother you.
Please, by all means. Come in, have a seat.
Is there something we should call you other than lady?
Let's go with Eleanor today.
Today, Eleanor.
Today. And she sweeps, and it looks like she should be wearing the kind of robe that one wears when they haven't seen their husband in weeks, officer. But her actual outfit is much simpler. It's just sort of a house dress, but that aura, she can't quite turn it off, which is probably why she's staying in a house this far outside of town. And she sweeps into the kitchen, and she returns a few moments later with a tray with a full service, coffee, milk, sugar, and a bottle of Irish cream to be added at one's leisure. She sets it on the coffee table. Please, help yourself.
Clara sets about making coffee for Bethany first, actually, and is kind of doing that. I'm going to chaperone in the corner over here and kind of keep an ear on things, but is trying to give Bethany and Eleanor a little bit of room and privacy. So she slides a cup of coffee in front of Bethany the way she likes it, and then takes a little too long making her own, but also because her hands are kind of shaking and she really kind of needs, and she doesn't want this wild predator thing that really likes her sister to see her weakness. So she's taking her time making coffee.
And Eleanor sits herself down on a love seat. There is a 3-seater sofa, a 2-seater love seat, and a singular chair. And she sits on the love seat and gives her 2 guests choices on where they would like to sit. And she sort of sits and waits as if holding court, very curious to see who decides to sit where.
There's room. Bethany's going to sit on the love seat with her.
There is definitely room.
Yep, gonna go sit down next to her.
And Clara?
She gives that a glance and is just smiling and goes, I'll be over in a minute, and gives a nod to the single seat.
And from where Clara is, she's sort of standing near the coffee table preparing the coffee. There is a sense, because she is closest to the small hallway that probably leads to a bedroom, that there might be someone else here. But if so, they have not made their presence known on purpose in any way.
Yes. What's it exactly right? What's interesting is that the lady Eleanor doesn't make the house feel lived in. She doesn't give it that sense. I mean, she's there and you can tell that she's there, but it's, you know what I mean? You walk into an empty house and it has that vibe. It's the sitting room has the vibe, but yes, Clara, further away behind you down a hallway, which would lead logically to a bedroom. It definitely has that feeling like there is somebody there. You can't tell if it's a smell or a sound or one of those things that exists below your conscious perception.
Interesting.
Yes, very.
And sorry.
Bethany, in the throes of your schizophrenic visions, this is a rough ride.
Yeah.
it's a bit like being on a roller coaster that you were. It's kind of like being on your favorite roller coaster, but the roller coaster's on fire.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that you are having trouble with is essentially that the fantastic collage description of the lady continues to flex.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost imagine if her face was set on drifting continents. So it kind of has that, like, the ratios are very slightly changing. It's Bethany's an old hand at breathing walls. Like, that's kind of, the walls pulsing in and out. That's something that you're used to, but this person shape is now kind of, breathing in and out, not in a respiratory manner, and it's not great.
Mm-hmm. Just gonna take a sip of coffee about it and hope that it will stop soon.
And the lady is still largely speaking to Clara, but her vision, her, like, every sense is trained on Bethany. And it is predatory, desirous, aroused. And there's almost something disbelieving in her, the same way that Bethany felt of, is this really you that I see before me? Is this the real you?
Mm-hmm.
And there's something in her that wants that. But she says, and how are you finding Utah?
I'm very thankful for your coffee.
Yes, indeed. They are a pious and godly people, are they not?
They're very sweet.
They are indeed. And how was your trip here from the city?
Oh, it was fine. It was shorter than I expected. We had a
good.
lovely picnic.
Oh, wonderful. Desert picnics are so exciting, aren't they? You can see for miles this dry, flat place. It's just stunning, isn't it?
That is a good word for it, yes.
Not what we're used to.
Quite. And I'm sure you didn't come to this little town just for me. Although I would be flattered if it were so.
No, though potentially. How are you with numbers?
Not quite as skilled as you might be hoping for.
That's a touch of a relief. I would rather us remain on the same side.
Oh, certainly, of course. I would like nothing less. And again, this is speaking to Clara, looking at Bethany. No, I imagine you're here looking for a few other things. A missing woman, perhaps?
You're quite good.
Well, then I believe you and I have similar goals in this little town. Because there are elements here that are contrary to my goals, as I'm sure they are to yours.
Despite the terrible breathing that is happening on her face, one of the reasons Bethany isn't really talking is you're just getting a besotted stare. Like, she's just gently just staring.
And at that point, just very casually, she goes from sitting like a very proper lady to curling her legs up underneath her on the couch in that sort of casual cat-like, I'm going to just press my lower legs against you, Bethany. And there's just that very casual, just friendly female contact.
Just gals being pals.
Just gals being pals.
Yeah, and Beth, leans in like to let more contact exist.
Clara looks over and is just smiling. See, oh, you're so cute. I love you so much. It's very nice to see. She goes, we've actually had a very long drive. Do you have a washroom I could use? I should look at this bandage also before we sit and get into talking to things.
Yes, of course. It's just down the hall. And she gestures.
Thank you. So Claire is going to go actually use the washroom and slightly swoop down the hall and give them privacy.
Yeah, there are 3 doors down the hallway, sort of one on each side and one at the end. The one at the end, probably a linen closet. The one on the right, washroom. The one on the left, door cracked. It's dark inside in the sense of like there's probably a large window, but the curtains are drawn, so it's not pitch black, but it is dark enough that it would be hard to see without actively poking your head in.
Gotcha. Claire's gonna open the bathroom door like she's going in, and then pause and go dead silent and see if she can hear anything from that other door.
How about just for this whole little splash of espionage, how about we just roll, what do you think? Do you think this is an act under pressure, or do you think this is more investigative? What's your opinion on what's the challenge being presented to Clara right now?
Not observe a situation?
I'm asking, like, I have no answer. I'm asking you what you think.
I observe a situation, especially with her listening and trying to be more passive. Like, she's not asking questions about this. And there's no pressure. Like, it's not a timed situation. She's trying to give them actively a lot of time so they can catch up and flirt, not in front of her.
I think
investigate works for me.
Reading the investigate move.
Yeah,
I feel like the investigate move is most in line with the story beats. So
cool. Investigate is
plus reason.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Oh, I don't think I have much reason. It's Clara. Oh, I have one reason. It's not enough. It's a 14.
It's called Matthew.
Yeah. 14 though, so it's still middle of the road.
Okay. So the fact of the matter is that you are almost entirely certain that you're going to not be able to hide, at least from the lady that you investigated.
Yeah.
Like it's a bare wooden floor. You are in hard soled shoes.
Yeah.
And if that door doesn't fucking creak, I'll eat it.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, she didn't really tell you what was back there, but she didn't tell you not to look. So it's it's definitely one of those things where Clara could absolutely justify being like, oh, the door was open.
Yeah.
It's like you've done worse on flimsier. So it's really just a matter of are you inclined to work with a flimsy premise?
Yeah, she didn't say if the bathroom was on the left or the right, so.
Okay, yeah, sure, go for it. Like,
honestly,
there's no wrong
door
answer.
Was shut, she would have pushed the door that was open.
Okay.
Yeah, so she pushes the door open.
Okay. There is a person there. Or there is a general person-shaped lump on a bed. The bed has been it hasn't been stripped. Stripped is the wrong word. Stripped is a medicinal term. Stripped is what they do in the hospital once you get to go home. Most of the bedclothes have been thrown off of the bed. And there is a small, probably maybe feminine form. It maybe used to be a dress. What of it is left? Blonde hair, slight figure. Lady, do you have anything you want to add to this? As we talked about this, which is why I'm describing it, but did anything kind of pop into your mind in terms of specificity?
The figure is... It takes Clara a moment before she can confirm that the figure is alive. It's breathing, but it is either so deeply asleep or comatose or disconnected from the world that it does not seem like, a nice pleasant shake would wake them from that slumber.
Good to know. And since the figure is blonde, does it remind her of Bethany at all?
Sure does. Especially since you just saw Bethany asleep not that long ago.
Yep, that's uncomfortable.
It should be.
There is.
Mm-hmm. All right, Claire's gonna quietly shut that door and then go into the bathroom, mutter to herself, wrong room.
Wow.
Gals being pals.
In a different system at this point, you would be rolling for humanity.
Yeah.
In another different system, you'd be rolling for sanity.
Yes. Okay, so you just freshen up,
Yep.
take off what needs taken off, put on what needs put on,
Yep.
straighten, curl, tussle, whatever is appropriate. Cool.
Dab sweat from the drive, and yeah. And give them time.
Okay. So you managed to make a 2-minute pit stop take like 5.
Yes.
Okay.
Back on the couch. The lady is now at this point just all attention. Now that Clara has politely excused herself, there doesn't need to be that veneer of I'm entertaining multiple guests. And she wants to consume Bethany. And it feels like every definition of that word is what the lady wants right now.
Yeah, Bethany's about it though.
Is it just besotted
She's
stares?
Very besotted, very fascinated, and not afraid. Like, despite it's not a prey response, it's a curiosity instead, despite that, like, chase her up and, like, devour her limbs, rend and bloody and teeth. She's fascinated at that attitude and not scared.
The lady runs a hand from Bethany's knee up all the way, knee side up to her face, and looks at her and says, "You are so singular. And finally, you are here, sitting in my little house. It's so good to see you."
there is like palpable relief at the word singular used for Bethany, like a giant exhalation of relief and hope and a complicated ball of wanting that as confirmation of who and what she is. She looks at the lady, at Eleanor, and says, I wasn't sure I'd see you after that night at Phoenix Society, but I've never forgotten and I've never stopped looking, and how strange for you to be hunted.
You were sure. I know you were, because I was.
I wanted, but even that hasn't been sure for me.
Are you certain that you were uncertain?
No, I was certain I should be uncertain.
And she kind of strokes underneath Bethany's chin, and there's that moment of like, the want to kiss is palpable, but chaperones. There are so many things that polite society would frown upon me for thinking in this moment. There are things I want to give you, to show you. And she looks over Bethany's head towards where the bedroom is, where Clara is definitely not peeking in right now.
Yeah, totally not. Absolutely.
There are so many pieces of you waiting to be reclaimed, waiting to be brought back under your power. And I would see you in your full glory, wings spread in your completion. But there is a sorceress in this town who is making things difficult.
Who?
Oh, what is her name? What is her little human name? What is that name? Esme.
Is she the one playing numbers?
She is your number queen.
Then
Sending her tools to your city.
Then I don't think she's going to be a problem for very long.
My beauty. Do you know your words are poetry? And she lets her arm fall back along the edge of the love seat. And it's one of those, like, if you wanted to snuggle in, you could. It's kind of up to you given the social situation, but it's casually there. Because she can tell the timing of Clara's extra long bathroom trip will probably be ending soon.
Yeah. Bethany hasn't really been paying attention to how long her sister's been gone at all. So she does not like full snuggle in, because Clara will come back at some point, but lean back to lean into it.
And it's pretty obvious that the lady is doing is maintaining distance purely for Bethany's comfort levels.
Mhm.
Like there's a distinct sense that the lady in red does not give a shit that Clara is going to walk back in. But Bethany is still living in this human world and may have opinions about a sibling seeing a romantic encounter that is not currently accepted by this society. So she lets Bethany set the tone of their specific physicality in the moment.
Yeah. It is still slightly more casual than Bethany would like it to be, and that is obvious. And it's not about Clara, actually. It's about claiming that from the lady. Like in actual physical space. So it's, slightly, it is a definite like expressed, but like she's matching the casual tone currently.
It's playing a little bit cool.
Little bit.
Is she attempting to play it cool?
Not really. Like half of her brain is gone, okay?
It's pretty gone. It's pretty gone.
It's pretty gone. She spent a whole lot of time just staring, and their schizophrenia was still doing weird stuff, and it didn't matter.
And right before Clara comes back in, the lady says, I would, if you would like it, offer you a gift.
Oh?
Yeah. Just in the other room, should you wish to take it. It's entirely up to you. I don't want to pressure you either way.
Can I go see it then?
By all means. And she gestures towards the bedroom. Probably just as Clara comes walking back in.
Yes, if you weren't going to make the timing line up like that, I sure as hell was. Yeah. So the Clara, you are. See, what's funny, Clara, is that you are almost entirely certain that for years Bethany had to do to you and Matthew what you are doing to her, and that you are taking the click, clop, clip, clop, like heel, toe, like I am walking into this room soon, and like I'm going to come to a stop, and you are going to hear my shoe slide on the floor before I turn into the room. Everything's all fucking topsy-turvy at this point, you know, and that's exactly how I designed it. And so you two meet each other in the hallway. How are both of you looking? Like what's the outside face look like?
Clara has that slightly too tight, too pleasant smile of, if I didn't have makeup on, I would look like death, and I feel like shit. So I'm gonna fake it till I make it, smile through it. And it actually, as she sees those two coming up the hall together, warms a bit. She's really happy for her sister. She knows that this is really hard, knows that her sister has been pining, knows that they are in a safe place-ish, thinks they are at least, where there's not going to be outside public to like scorn her sister for being queer. And so the fact that they are together and are standing closer than would be socially acceptable and are walking somewhere together, ostensibly to a bedroom, even though there's someone unwell in there that looks like Bethany, it makes Clara happy. So she's got the, all right, bracing for public smile on, and then she sees that, and she's like, oh, Bethany.
Yeah. Well, that's actually cute. The lady has gestured for Bethany to go ahead of her into the bedroom and sort of half sat up and then sat back down more socially acceptably to receive Clara back into the receiving area. So we're sort of swapping sibling places.
Mhm.
And she offers another cup of coffee. It's like, can I get you anything else? Any other needs you might have?
No, I am stopping doing that, I think. I'm trying.
Congratulations.
I appreciate the offer. And Claire's hands are absolutely shaking now.
I mean, you did heroin in hell once. I mean, it's once you've broken the fuck barrier. I mean, really, what is there to say no to?
No, doctor said.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. There are so many things that can hinder us in our journey. It's thrilling to see you decide to take steps to free yourself from it. I was just speaking to Bethany, and I understand that you and I have a similar issue with someone in town. Your numbers queen that you were looking for.
Yes.
Hmm.
A friend of ours in Vegas is quite cross with her as well.
Ah. Yes, I believe, if my suppositions are correct, that you'll be looking for someone named Esme. If you look around the Milton and Sons apothecary, I believe you'll find her hidey hole.
Milton and Sons. Is that the one that's just opening, or that's the one that's been there a while?
Just opening.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, she appears to be setting up shop. And that is most unfortunate.
Why don't you like her?
She's trying to do many of the same things I am, and I'm sure you understand there can only be so many of us in one place on this realm of existence.
Yes. Well, I'm hoping that we will be able to take care of her, or we just needed the information. Our friend back in Las Vegas. It'll be up to him to do with it as he pleases. If he wants to pay us more, then maybe we come up here and we help you take care of her jointly. It would be bonding.
Is it payment you're looking for?
To handle her?
Hmm.
No, it's power.
Oh, and is that so different from payment?
Yes.
Tell me
At
more.
least to us. Payment is easy among mortals and among this realm, Elysium, I think it is properly called. We have money. We have all the money we could ever want. We always have. But that's not power. That is power here. We need power there.
Ah.
We need to
Then
get back to Metropolis.
Then I think we may be of more use to each other than I initially thought. All of us to one another.
I hope so. I suspect so. You understand that I understand you did us a boon back in Pittsburgh all those years ago.
And I would do so again. And you can tell from that tone that it's more a judgment on the people back in Pittsburgh than a like of you.
Of course. I have every wish in the world that you and us can be on the same side and will remain so. And I think this could be a lovely friendship and possibly even partnership with my sister. I hope very much. But if you hurt her, or you use her and toss her away.
You'll do what exactly?
I will use every inch of power we have in this Elysium, which is a lot, to destroy you. But I think we're on the same side, and that's not going to be an issue.
As I told Bethany, and I will tell you, she is singular.
She is.
I think we will get along very well indeed, the Van Horsts and I.
That would be lovely.
I would love at this moment to cut over to Bethany.
Yeah.
Very good. I just, I'm just watching like literal months of prep and like hundreds and hundreds of words between Samara and I getting ready for this, just working perfectly. And I'm just pleased as punch. Like, this dance my puppets dance.
I'm very excited to be here. Ben and I are very excited to monster together.
Yes. Bethany.
Yes.
Floating down the hallway on a cute little gay cloud. You come to the same hallway that your sister was in. Have you ever seen the Silent Hill movies?
I don't think so. Weird.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to have a watch party one night.
Yeah.
Silent Hill 1 is fantastic. There is a thing where the wallpaper starts peeling, but it starts peeling and flaking and then going up as if like very, very light paper ash is floating away. And that's what the wallpaper in this hallway is doing. It's peeling away, and underneath it are laths, those thin, distressingly thin and fragile wooden pieces that are often under plaster. It seems like whatever was supposed to be the plaster, of course, this is madness, and madness does not follow the rules of the Sears assembly guide. So there really isn't plaster, or you hope beyond all hope that whatever is supposed to be the plaster in this moment, you don't get to see. But what is underneath the laths are wet, rotten, moldering bird carcasses, just feathers and beaks and half exposed skulls and broken feet, and just kind of the viscera pressing out from between the laths. And it's just it's almost bland in how overwhelming it is. Like it's suddenly so much. And to go from a room where you have something like the lady there, and there are so many good promises there that are being made and that are being kept, and then to walk down this hallway and to have this just rotten aviary hell just smushing its way, it almost feels like the world wants to remind you that you haven't gotten away yet. That you're still surrounded by this rotten, miserable cage. And that the happiness that you just felt is a temporary lie, just a panacea, a coat of lacquer over an infected wound. And it's probably going to harsh your fucking mellow pretty hard. And then you get to the hallway. There's a bathroom there. So if you want to have a pause and contemplate your strange life, you could. And after that, there is another room, and it is a bedroom, and it is a figure in repose.
I think Bethany goes into the bathroom and splashes some water on her face and dries her face with a towel and does not look in the mirror.
Yo, good idea.
Straight up. Like, she's like, oh, that would be good, but does not want to know what that reflection is. Like, doesn't want to at all.
Fair.
And then she's going to go in the bedroom.
Okay. Oh, Bethany, this isn't the first time you've walked in on yourself in a bedroom, is it?
Nope.
No, in a terrible place, in a hell pit that was designed, that was a meat grinder of a factory designed to spew some macula of the siblings up out of it, and something, I don't know, it was the purpose was
Mhm.
inscrutable. It's almost like you might have missed something. There's you remember seeing yourself and meeting yourself, but meeting yourself now
Mhm.
almost in the way you wish you could be in this moment.
Mhm.
Empowered, unafraid, willing to have anything you wanted.
Mhm.
But in front of you is the exact opposite of that. Emaciated, weak, used up. But Bethany, it's a you.
Mhm.
The dress is cheap. It's a seersucker dress. It's off the shelf from a department store. The shoes that are tucked underneath the end of the bed are just very simple local shoes. There's nothing, these, you wouldn't wear these clothes on your worst day.
Hmm.
Her hair is a much less compelling, far more simple cut, or at least it was the last time it was cut. It has been long enough that cut is now lost in rampant growth, and the hair is not freshly brushed. It is messy, and it is not just slumber messy. It's bad messy. It's haven't left my room in 5 weeks messy.
Mhm.
It's Clara had to brush my hair so much that I cried messy.
Mhm.
You've been this messy.
Mhm.
You haven't been emptied like this, but you've been what this Bethany was before
Mhm.
this moment. Um, what you see is the gaping holes where her soul used to be. There's a little bit of it there, floating around this tired, like emaciated. I keep coming back to that word, that tired, drained body, this ignored and abandoned flesh floating around it, almost like thistledown
Mhm.
around it. And you can see that the colors are the bright colors that you see in yourself sometimes when your madness is upon you, but there's no substrate for it to grow.
Mhm.
There's not enough there for anything to latch on. She's laying on her side, and you'd really have to go up to her and turn her over to really get a really good grasp of what's going on here. Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember? You do. I hope you do. You remember when you got the sensory impressions that led you here? And do you remember how I described it as someone was breathing air from their mouth into yours?
Mhm.
Bethany, the lipstick that the lady in red is wearing is on this Bethany's mouth. And you can
Mhm.
recognize the shape of that smear to be exactly the smear that you would need to make
Mhm.
in this with this old-fashioned lipstick if you were doing that almost CPR style mouth on mouth breath exchange. And there's a puffy, faded, partially healing bite mark on that lower lip. And you are almost entirely certain that there would be similar, beautiful, terrible marks that you're hatefully jealous of
Mhm.
in other places were you so inclined to investigate such a thing.
Mhm.
But it's a you.
Mhm.
It's one of these other Bethanies.
Mhm. She's so very torn. But the lady said it was a present,
She did.
which means it's mine now. And she doesn't need it anymore.
A understandable mode of thought.
Bethany is just pretending with herself that she's not going to sit here and eat this other Bethany's soul, but she is.
That's fine.
There's not a knot about this.
I was letting Kate percolate. Like, I already had my money put on the over under. I was just
it's
letting you get there in your own time.
gonna happen, but she's gone through 6 excuses in her brain already. So she's going to, because this poor sad creature, one, it would be a kindness, really.
It really would be.
The
Oh,
only thing
for sure.
that would have her hesitate is that, well, but the lady used her to contact me, and if she needs her, then I shouldn't. But she said it was a present. She was so pleased with that other cemetery, not Bethany, when I did that. So obviously that's the thing she should do. So yes, so Bethany will take her present gratefully and consume her.
Okay. And it
But-
all, and as you said before, consume is such a word with so many different meanings.
Mhm.
So in this moment, what does that word mean?
Mm. Poor, sad, little, emaciated, not Bethany. Bethany is going to look for a hairbrush, either in here or in the bathroom.
I'm sure there's one here.
Yeah. So gently and kindly,
Mm-hmm.
so long as she doesn't wake up about it, other Bethany. Bethany will gather up the soul bits that are floating around her by like thistledown by brushing the tangles out of her hair and gathering them all together.
Okay.
All fluffy and together, she will take those soul bits and wrench them like a knot of hair that cannot become untangled in a brush and rip out those soul bits and put them in herself.
Awesome. Okay. How about you roll to keep it together?
Sure. That's 10. Let me see what else goes with that.
Good question. Plus willpower.
Oh, she has a lot of that because she's her willpower is +2, so that's 12, and she's only at a -1 to keep it together, so it's still 11.
Okay. It's not a 9.
It's not a 9. It's
This
the middle of the road.
Yeah, this consumption isn't the good news is that you don't kind of mentally temporarily shatter in this process. There's like Freud would write a really, really big, really thick book on the last like 3 minutes of Bethany's life. And a really big, like, holy fuck, it'd be a big book. And there's a lot about, self-consumption, the psychic Ouroboros. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Almost too much to enumerate. But at this point, between having sex with yourself,
Yep.
tearing a necromantic version of yourself apart and consuming them body and soul,
Yep.
and now consuming the last remaining shreds of this battered, used up, and abused version of Bethany, you are starting to feel something happen. You are not done, but the sense, it's, imagine, if you will, that Bethany was a puzzle piece, but in many ways, once again, metaphors, the puzzle piece that she was not a piece that looked like a puzzle piece. It looked like a incorrectly made whole unit. But now you keep finding these other pieces and you are putting them together. And suddenly you are starting to notice that there is a shape that you are currently in the middle of that is incomplete. And there are other pieces out there. And it is exhilarating and also terrifying at the same time. But thankfully, due to the fact that this is not the craziest fucking thing that has happened to you in your very long and unpleasant life, you manage to handle it with an amount of aplomb. However, you become a little obsessed. The idea that there are more of you out there, and it's, repetition creates comfort. We're starting to kind of get a bit of a mental okay space with this autophagy. And it's a whole thing. And it's going to be difficult for you to turn away from doing this again if you get the chance. Like, I had to tell you that. Sorry. Not a whole lot for me to tell you there. But the thing is now is that you've always had a lot of trouble with staying in the illusion. It's always been something that the illusion has always been something that you've physically forced yourself to deal with. And some of it is schizophrenia. Some of it is learning how to observe those things through your own lens and how to interact with them. And moments like seeing the horse and the groom connected by exposed and wound tendons laced with barbed wire as they spun in a flaming circle in the horse paddock outside of your home, you are understanding that the illusion is not as solid as those who made it want you to think. The illusion is a flexible, manipulatable thing. It is a damaged thing. It is a thing that, like a shattered piece of polished glass, you have handles that you can find, that you can cut yourself on, but you can find it and you can hold it and you can use it. Because at the end of the day, Bethany, despite the fact that the knowledge of this fills her probably with revulsion, is a tool-using monkey. And there is no better tool than a sharp rock for consuming this version of yourself, for accepting an offering from a creature of inhuman origin and countenance. You gain the ability to manipulate the illusion. You can manipulate the illusion and use it against extra dimensional beings and energies, be it defensively or offensively. I will send you a copy of this.
Thank you.
If your action is in direct conflict against a being with magical abilities, you take a penalty to the roll equal to their level of magical expertise. I have that number. When you manipulate the illusion move to dispel a magical force, rebuke an entity, or close a portal, roll soul minus the creature's magic level.
Okay.
At 15 plus, you permit the illusion's overwhelming force to cancel out the magic or rebuke the being. 10 to 14, you permit the illusion's overwhelming force to cancel out the magic or rebuke the being, but there are unexpected complications, such as the magic or the being has time to affect you first, or your exertion of force attracts unwanted attention.
Mhm.
9 or lower, the illusion temporarily rejects you. You may be overwhelmed, transported elsewhere, or become the target of things who now see you clearly. The GM makes a move. For 9 and under, I reference you to The Hounds of Tyndalos,
Mhm.
short story by H.P. Lovecraft.
It's fine.
It's fine. Yes. Thanks. I hate it.
No, it's okay. This should be a terrible problem, but she doesn't want to be here anyway.
Yeah.
Bethany.
But this is you will psychically cut yourself while using this ability as one of the things that we're doing with Bethany is she working her way to an enlightened well, the other two are too, but more slowly working her way to an enlightened archetype. But we're not doing the you are now using the enlightened playbook. We're working our way up to it and we're seeing how it goes and we're liking it so far. So that's a problem.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Or a solution.
Prolution.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. So, anything else to add in that moment of scene?
No.
Okay. Do you just leave the other Bethany's body mid brush stroke and just kind of push it off the bed? Or do you arrange it? Is there any sort of mortuary practice that you want to engage in?
She'll leave it there for now because she's gonna go back out and ask the lady. Well, she's gonna say first, thank you for your gift. Should I take it with me?
Okay. Let's see what she says about that after our bottom of 9 o'clock break.
Hey everyone, it's old Curtis, aka CT, aka Curtis Black, Executive Director of TTRP Theater Media and the positive thinking producer of How to Play KULT Divinity Lost video series. I wanted to stick in a quick thank you and encourage you to take advantage of the free subscription if you find value in what you're watching or think others might. Just click this red subscribe button and you're done. If you don't want to miss our next drop, click the little bell icon and you'll get a notification when it does. All of that works the old YouTube algorithm and helps in showing this video to more KULT Divinity Lost fans like me and you. Giving us a thumbs up or down also helps, but more than that, it helps us know what works and what needs fixed or cut, and drop a comment to tell us what we've got right or wrong. All of that helps us improve and bring you the content you enjoy from our little theater. Thanks.
So the lady in red is making polite conversation with Clara. Some of it is information about the town, where you might find certain things, both mundane and magical, and just playing the gracious hostess. And mid-conversation, she closes her eyes and gets an expression on her face that is almost pornographic. It is one of those moments that even Clara is like, I'm straight, right? Just that little bit of like, oh gosh.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes that same beatific smile that was on her face when she first opened the door. And then she opens her eyes and continues like nothing happened. And she offers some more coffee. She offers to decant some rum into a flask that Clara can take with her when they leave as a sort of care package, just in case Mormontown, you understand.
Yes, Clara takes her up on all of that, and as she's decanting the rum and has recovered from her momentary climax in the living room, Clara just looks up and goes, "So was that my sister finishing off her present from you?"
It most certainly was.
I wondered if that's what was in the room.
Yes. There are so many like her in the world, and yet only one, Bethany. And it is one of my greatest hopes that she is able to become her truly unique self.
You and I share that hope.
Cheers. And the Lady in Red has not actually consumed anything over the time that they've all been there. She went through the motions of preparing herself a cup of coffee, because that is the thing that one does when one is hosting, but never bothered to bring it up to her lips or take a sip at any point.
Noticing that, Claire's on like round 3 at this point, all of them well soused. And she's reaching for round 4, sees that the lady's cup is still full, and goes, "Be useless to put this to waste. I understand when you are with others and you are out in society, such politeness and trivialities need to be addressed. But frankly, when we are in closed doors, you can just be yourself. It's what Van Horst do. We would not be considered polite or proper people at all if we acted as who we are outside of closed doors. But, well, now Bethany finished her present. We really are alone in this house, so you might as well relax," and steals her coffee.
My full self would be a bit of a dramatic adjustment, and is sometimes difficult within this illusory worldscape. But I do very deeply appreciate the sentiment. And there is kind of there is a sense that there should be wings. They're not there, obviously. She's just a woman standing there. But there is a distinct sense in Clara's mind that there is more to her than this physical person standing in the pretty sparse kitchen. There are things in the kitchen, but they're mostly niceties for other people, or perhaps sustenance for someone who was not her.
Well, I hope one day we get to see it. Truthfully, I know that Bethany is slightly farther on this journey than Matthew and I are, but we don't want to be trapped in this world. This world is...
Nor should you.
It's a prison. I know that it is. Are you from Metropolis or somewhere else?
I'm going to defer to Ben on that one.
Yes, but not for a very long time. That's not home for me anymore.
Well, if you would like to make it home again, we intend to go back. We intend to retake the city and to rule where we rightly should be ruling.
There is something in her smile that should have bangs. And she is just delighted. Both in a peer sense and also in when you have a young kid and they present you with the art project from school and it's actually legitimately good. It's not just a macaroni painting. It's actually got some skill there. And so there's that moment of sort of being genuinely impressed by this gumption, this Van Horst plan. And she's like, this is a most serendipitous meeting indeed, I must say. I look forward to Bethany becoming her truth, but I also look forward to yours. I am most curious to see what you and your other become.
I am too. Of all of them, I have the least natural gifts for things beyond the illusion. I don't even know where to start, except for to support them, and I will always do that.
And they need that. Never think yourself any less essential.
Oh, I don't. I'm the oldest, and despite a rather long run of bad habits that I acknowledge that I have, I'm still the oldest, often the most put together, and I keep us in line. Keep us going forward. And
She says with a straight face.
ignoring the stab wound through my shoulder.
And every queen deserves a throne room appropriate to her splendor.
That is accurate.
Would you like some help with that, by the way?
This?
Yes.
If you could without my being in debt to you.
Consider it a gift.
I would love a gift.
I have a generous nature. And she takes a hand and she places it ever, ever, ever so gently upon where the wound is. And there is a, like when you're driving and the heat coming up off the road makes things shimmer, there's a sense of that about her for just a moment. And then when it's gone, that aching, throbbing feeling that was in Clara's shoulder is no longer there.
Well, that's nice.
There is still a wound there, but it is noticeably smaller.
Impressive.
And it looks like it will not scar.
Very useful. You are full of gifts today. I appreciate. I'll have to find
my generous nature.
Thank you, truly. And for what you brought for Bethany. I can tell you care about her, and that's what matters.
I wish only the best for her. And
we will get along just fine.
And she looks up right towards the kitchen door. As there may or may not be only one Bethany walking in.
Just one right now. And she says, thank you for my gift.
And she sweeps over and takes Bethany's face in both hands and just kisses her right on the mouth. And when she releases her, she puts her arms around her waist and looks back at Clara. It's like, you are blessed with siblings who do not object to us as so many do in this world. And that is a most precious thing. And in that moment, especially for Clara, it's very clear that the Lady in Red is not always well versed at human. And that moment is the most human she has seen so far. The most genuine, the least like a big cat.
Mm-hmm. Good. How are you feeling? She asked to Bethany.
I learned things that I already knew, but I learned them.
I'm so thankful to hear it.
Should we take it with us?
No, that's not necessary. If you have any use for it, you're more than welcome to, but it's certainly not required.
Not particularly at this time. I just didn't want to leave you with a mess.
Not at all. Not at all. But, and she looks up at what, for the most part, looks like a clock. To Bethany, it might not. To Clara, it looks just like a clock. It's like, but I believe our hour is growing late.
Yes. And David will be back, hopefully sated. More coffee. We're never going to sleep tonight. How do we find you again?
Hey, Ben.
Yeah.
How might they find the Lady in Red again? She may or may not be in the house for some time, but if she were to vacate.
Well, she would say that Bethany is very aware of how I speak to her, and there is no reason why a similar process could not speak to me.
Very well.
So if you're willing to find, kidnap, and torture another Bethany, you could totally talk to the Lady in Red, providing she's not at the house or anywhere else.
But you are always welcome to knock on my door.
And you know how to find us. We will be at the Tropicana for some time, I suspect, until other matters in Las Vegas are finished.
I hear it's lovely.
It is. You should come visit. We'd be more than happy to host you.
If you might speak with your friend, I would not want to intrude on another's domain.
Ah, yes. What should we call you to him?
Many know me as the Lady in Red.
All right. And we will pass the message along also with this woman who is violating his territory as well. This is possibly awful to ask. Do you think she's just worth removing now?
Almost certainly. One could simply remove her base of operations, and it would become clear to her that she might want to find another one. Or, if you didn't want to do that a second time, perhaps an encounter need only be a single encounter.
David is very effective at what he does.
Oh, I'm sure he is.
But if you say she's a witch, I would not care to risk such a valuable asset, such a valuable part of our family as David is.
Of course, of course.
Would be stretching beyond what Mr. Prince asked us. Something to consider with Matthew.
Of course, one must always consider the opinion of the man of the house, must they not?
Our third, our brother. He deserves equal weight.
She strokes Bethany's hair, just kind of casually as they're talking.
And do you have any recommendations for how Matthew and I might learn the ways that Bethany is learning?
Well, you could go the route Bethany has done. There are other worlds than these. Resisting one's mortal vices never goes amiss, although there are similar options in Metropolis, so one could simply trade one vice for another. And she gives what is probably a more reasonable option that I will let Ben fill in.
Yeah. I was getting ready to lean towards the microphone and say, let me help. The truncated version is that every journey is unique, and what you need to do essentially is define yourself and refine yourself in circumstances and experiences that challenge you on a very fundamental level. There is no one path, there is no one journey. It's essentially impossible to describe, because each person, the way each person is bound and limited is different, and the way you create the toolbox that you use to break out of that is an individual and bespoke journey. So it's kind of a non-answer, but aside from press yourself to the extreme in ways that force you to define who you are very strongly. Like, when Bethany has developed certain skills and capabilities, this has been through like the literal destruction and consumption of other versions of herself. Like, you could, like, the head fuck that is that experience is not to be taken lightly. And so really probably what Clara might be thinking about is what kind of a head fuck would be equivalent to killing and eating variations of myself. How would I burn my brain equally hot?
Clara knocks back her entire drink. I'm not doing it because it's fizzy water. It's still tickled. But point taken. Nothing worth doing is easy, is it?
But it is always the most rewarding. And she looks at Bethany with pride.
The queen needs to prove herself. I will.
I know you will.
I'm going to have a cigarette outside. I will let you know when David comes. Enjoy your last few minutes. And with that, Clara gives them a few minutes to say goodbye.
Okay.
Good wingman.
Yeah.
If it is okay with the player,
Mhm.
the lady in red pushes Bethany up against the counter and claims her mouth. It is aggressive almost to the point of painful, but not quite.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. Yes.
It is one of those bursts of activity that clearly says, I have wanted to do this the entire time, much
Mhm.
longer than the hour that you have been here. This is days, months, weeks in the making.
Yeah. Just to say they make out until David shows up, pretty much hardcore, like that. Because the one thing that I want before we leave is that Bethany is gonna reach out and touch the lady in red's face and cup her cheek. And her goodbye is she just looks in her face and she says, "I'll dream of you." And gives a
You
little
will.
kiss on the mouth and leaves.
So instead of fade to black, it's fade to red.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well then. Yeah. So Bethany floats out of the door now on the same little pink cloud of gay happiness.
Yep.
And just because sometimes it's fun to have the camera not follow the players for just a minute. Samara, do you have any thoughts as to what happens in the first instance that the lady in red is no longer observed by mortals?
She leans back and does the longest stretch that is stretching more than just her physical body. It is stretching her form outside the illusion that is cramped and cannot come out. That vaguest outline of wings that Clara noticed earlier become not necessarily visible in the physical world, because even though she is alone, she's still in the illusion. But there is so much more to her that is just, it needs to be shaken loose a little bit. And it's one of those, the whole house presses outward against the walls of the house. Just please let me out of this space. Let me be my full size, my full self. And I can't yet, but I will.
Okay. Yup. That sounds right.
And then she goes and tidies up a corpse out of her bedroom.
Very good. Yes, useful at this point only for calories and compost.
Makes great fertilizer.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, David pulls up. It's probably a couple of minutes. Do the siblings do the sisters want to talk a little bit on the front porch, or, kind of off the front porch waiting for David, or are you ready for David to come get you?
How are you doing?
Lovely.
She probably has a bit of lipstick there.
Oh, honey. Clara reaches up and does the thumb thing, the mom thumb thing, just to... I understand, and I'm certain David would, but the Tropicana might not. And St. George certainly won't. Do you trust her?
Enough.
Enough is good. Enough is enough. We need to talk to Matthew about what to do with this Esme. We could just go back. We've learned what we came for.
Yes, we could just go back. We have learned what we came for. Do we know enough about her, though, to just go back and say it's a woman in St. George named Esme?
Possibly not. It's worth going to the apothecary and seeing what we can find
I
about
believe
her.
what Mac wanted us to do was convince her to stop sending people to his place. That at least involves a conversation.
Yes.
And if she can't be convinced,
We'll see how good David actually is. I also, while we are here, I have an understanding that there are some representatives of power, of that have ties in the nuclear research industry here, that I would like Matthew to get to meet. So I need to figure out who they are, and our lovely hotel concierge, who likes to talk a lot, might be able to tell me who they are. She wasn't all that interested in that sort of gossip. Keep your ears open when we go back to town. I was trying to find a local bar where we could go bond with people. Those things don't exist in St. George.
Oh.
As she pulls out the flask of rum and takes a hit. Your girlfriend is very pleasant.
yes,
I enjoy her indulgences.
as do I.
I should hope so. You were wearing her lipstick. Clara takes another bit of rum and offers to Bethany.
And she'll take some.
The rumble of the engine of the car starts to echo up the hills as dear David starts driving up the path. He doesn't come to as an abrupt stop this time, but he does quite distinctly come to a stop at a distance away. But this was much more of a parking kind of stop. Like, he's stopping at the same spot, but the manner in which he's doing it is very much like, and I'm going to slow down and I'm going to park and I'm going to find the right spot a little bit on the side of the road and do all of the smart and correct driver things that I should do at this point. And he gets out and he stands behind the driver's door. And David works for you, and as much as the relationship is sometimes a little weird, David is absolutely an employee of the Van Horsts. And so the look he gives you is a very servile look, in that, like, I am ready to leave when you're ready to leave, but if you're not ready to leave yet, then I will be happy to sit back in the car or stand here for a few minutes or do whatever else until you're ready to leave.
Does he look more sated than he did before?
At this distance, it's tough to say. I mean, his manner seems to be generally mellow, but also it's a consideration of, was it his internal craving for violence and death that was making him twitchy, or was it his proximity to the lady in red that was giving him a problem?
So Clara, she's smoking her cigarette and elegantly walking down the stairs. David, how are you feeling?
he looks like he's trying to answer that.
Hungry?
Honestly, he shakes his head. He says, no, he's having trouble dealing with it. In that he's not having trouble dealing with whatever it is he's done. He's having trouble discussing it so candidly. In many ways, David is a closeted sequence killer.
Yeah.
and so there's that definite where he's like, I don't know how to answer that question in a straightforward manner, because that's not a like yes, I killed someone at random today, it was awesome, you know.
Yeah.
And so he just like, you can see that like a lot of deep inner thoughts going on, and he says, I'm quite refreshed, ma'am, thank you.
Good.
And so he gets the doors. He looks at both of the siblings and gives that like, I left you alone for an hour in a house I didn't particularly like the fucking vibe of. How are we? I mean, Bethany is just like, you know, yeah, the little Looney Tunes Tex Avery, like the little Cupid wings floating around. How is Clara? What's Clara's vibe? Especially in those brief moments when Bethany can't see her, but David can, in the arrangement of getting seated in the car.
Oh, Clara's vibe is very interesting. She's feeling better because the lady in red filled her shoulder up enough that she's not in like gentle, agonizing pain consistently. And this is the first time that she's been without pain, without using heroin since that happened. So she feels a bit more herself, and we've got some answers, and she's got a plan. So Clara's feeling pretty good. The vibe that David probably gets from Clara is genuinely a little manipulative. Like, she's debating doing something, and it might be something awful or helpful. And that's what, so she's watching him like a chess player looking at several pieces on a board. And he's not a pawn that she's just going to toss away, but like, how do I want to put my knight out there and risk him? That's the exact look on Clara's face right now.
In my mind, like in my blue collar mind, I was imagining the way someone looks at their open toolbox. You know, that like, what do I want?
Yes, that's where she is.
How am I going to approach this problem I'm presented with?
Yeah, Clara's deeply debating going back inside and like knocking, being like, hi, do you want to see what our boy does? If you still have that snack, we'll make him run. Like, that is where Clara's brain is, because she's an awful, awful person.
Okay. Out of character.
Yeah.
That is okay. Like, out of character, that is within the scope of what we have prepared. Also out of character, I'm going to let you know that is, do you remember when Matthew and David had a contest of wills?
Yes.
In regards to like following orders and stuff, that would be a contest of wills between David and Clara.
That makes sense.
Because it's very, David does not like the lady in red's vibe. Like, there is some amount of their essences that are in opposition. Take from that what you wish. But to tell David that he is supposed to enter closer to her and then do something that's rather intimate and personal to him on her terms, there's a lot of layers there.
No, that makes sense. And if he was still hungry, Clara probably would have done it.
Okay.
But he's not. He's sated, and she's kind of she's got the look of like, what am I going to do with this tool, with this knight? That, because she does respect him more than a tool. I will say that. What am I going to do with this knight? No, it's not the time. He made a good move. It's not worth risking him more. But as she gets in the car and lights another cigarette and sits back, she does say, I understand that you don't wish to enter into this woman's territory. I don't know what feeling you got from her. But if it's worth it all or not, she did have a snack for you there. I'm sorry that you didn't stay long enough to have it.
There a lot goes on.
Mhm.
I mean, he goes on. What's the guy from who goes on the face journey in the library? He definitely like he goes on a mental journey, but locks it down very hard and fast, and you can watch like the inhuman shudders slam over his mind. And he says, "That was very kind of her," and just leaves it at that. Are you ready to leave?
I think so. Bethany?
Yes.
Okay. And he bundles everyone into the car, and backs the car up to a turnaround. Yeah, the lady in red just waves, does the Diana wave. Okay. And I will note that he also does not do the perfectly reasonable thing of pulling up to the extended parking area and turning around. He backs that motherfucking car up like 100 yards, finds another spot to turn around, and turns around. You would have to like whip him like a mule psychologically to get him into that house. So take from that what you will. But as you guys drive away, like as you drive back into St. George, and it's 10:30, and I'm pretty comfortable ending play here and then transitioning into debrief, unless there's something unless there's a brief thing that you want to do. But this also feels like a great moment to wait for Elon to be here again and to resync up, exchange information, and go forward as the completed siblings. The trifecta of terrible, the triforce, but of toxic. However, every meter that he goes further away from the lady in red, he gets better. Like every minute that he is further away from her, his mood improves. And about 5 minutes worth of driving, and you can kind of, if you could imagine that like the scenery has changed, that there's kind of been like a landscape alteration where the level of the monsters changed, the zone chat is different. He then turns on the radio, which, as we all know, is David's big sign of like, I'm in a fairly good mood. And he turns on the radio, and you know what? I just listened to it today. Hot Rod Lincoln starts playing on the radio. I tell you, son, you're going to drive into drinking if you don't stop riding that Hot Rod Lincoln. And here's the thing, is like, as he's away from the lady, you can tell that now at this point he is experiencing the satiation of his pattern killing, because now he's in the satiation / cool down period. For you true crime podcast absorbers, he's in his cool down satiation period. And so like, and he's driving, he's at 10 and 2, like he's doing all of the way up here because he's 5. He's doing all of the appropriate things, he's signaling, but he's definitely like, you can see like his index fingers kind of tapping along with some of the music, and he doesn't audibly sing, but you can see, you've all seen someone silently verbalize along with a song, and you can see the movement of their jaw and their throat as they do it. And that's what David's doing, which is frankly as close to informal as David gets in the car. He'll speak frankly and maybe without as much formality as you would expect from him, like in a hotel room. Like, David, here's what we want to do, and he will give you very blunt and frank opinions, or tell you what he thinks, or try to figure out what you want. But out here in the world, he's professionalism at the top of the chart. And so the amount of comfort and the amount of satisfaction that he has to feel to be tapping his fingers and silent and like sub-vocalizing along with some radio music is high. So driving away from one creature, being driven away by a different creature. The two siblings return to a town rotten on the inside and on the outside, blown in on a cloud of radioactive death. And I think that's where we're going to end play for tonight. So based off what I've had the Twitch chat available, but definitely it seems like everyone really enjoyed Samara. So let's thank Samara. One, for doing a fantastic job, and also for enduring a lot of Ben word vomit because I only use my syntax when company's over. So it was a whole ass thing. And something else that happened is we talk a lot about negotiating boundaries. It's one of the things that we really wanted to model and we wanted to do. One of the things that happened a lot off camera was that primarily Samara and Kate, but also all of the other players did negotiate an amount of boundaries, not just with violence and other things, but some other things like love bombing, cult indoctrination, grooming, and sexual role play. These were all things whose boundaries were discussed. I mean, it's not just like doing that stuff isn't just for the big ooby gross stuff. It's these subtle things are also very important to take a minute and explore and understand, because this shit is the stuff that can get in your head. Like, grooming is terrifying. Love bombing is terrifying. Like, if you sit down and read up on how it works, it will steal your fucking sleep from you. And so just also, if you didn't pick up on it, go back and watch the episode again, available on YouTube very soon. Go back and watch the episode again and notice how much the lady in red was grooming and love bombing and indoctrinating Bethany.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we all approached it like it was like a queer love story, but there was a lot of horrible shit going on underneath
but
that.
also Samara is a true crime junkie and has done a lot of research on cults and cult indoctrination.
Yeah. I mean, and guys, seriously, for real, Samara, I'm absolutely certain will agree with me. Reading up on that stuff can get in your head. So right. So if you're interested in that, it's like all that stuff is a great read, but also take the time to understand your own mental health and your own mental state, because that stuff will live in there forever.
Yes, very, very much so. It is important to research, because it is a thing that can actually happen to anyone under the right circumstances. And that's something a lot of people miss when they're researching or just learning about cults, is you get that kind of, how could anyone believe this? How could anyone get into this? And it's very insidious and very subtle in a lot of ways. And it can happen to a perfectly normal, vulnerable person.
Yeah.
And that's something that you kind of need to sit with.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. We want to thank you. We want to thank Curtis, for rearranging the layout, for doing all of the black fucking magic that he does when no one's looking. And Elon, we love you. If and when you catch up, we love you. We hope you're doing good today. And guys, TTRP Theater has been doing this now for 2 years. Apparently, if I remember correct, today is the anniversary. Like, today is the 2-year mark. So we got to be the official 2-year spook, which I'm pretty happy about. There is a whole shitload of stuff coming. The Vampire Interpreter is a prolific creator whose capacity astounds me. He is going to be doing Vampire. He is doing other things. I believe he's playing in Star Trek Sagittarius, which is one of the upcoming games. A whole shitload of stuff is coming. I will be playing it. I will be playing a dog skull-headed killing machine in the terrible cyberpunk Slay Industries game with some really interesting people, some new faces and some old faces. That is next week in the middle of the day. I don't think you're going to want to miss that one. And yes, it's like and subscribe. do all of those things, because metrics is a fucking real thing, guys. Like it's I get tired of hearing people say like and subscribe on YouTube videos as much as anybody else, but fucking for real, like it, subscribe it. If you watch it on YouTube, hit the little buttons down there, because the internet runs on statistics. And if you want our piece of the internet to run done gooder, then you need to do your rituals and hit the buttons.
Yeah.
Is there anything else anybody wants to add tonight? Any final thoughts?
No, how's everybody doing? Like, it felt
yeah.
like it was a really good, nice, smooth game, but I still like to check in and make certain that everybody's doing good.
Felt really good. This we've been working on this and hyping on this for a long time, so I definitely
6 months I checked.
It hasn't really been. So I came in very nervous, but the players have been extremely supportive and excited to have me here. And Ben, lore dumps are always good. I'm load me up on things and I will sort through it and find the right stuff. And so it has been an absolute thrill to be here. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Erica, how are you doing? I mean, you were kind of off to the side, and it's such a terrible way to say it, but I can't think of a better one. The spotlight was not on Clara. There we go.
Fine.
For a lot of it. And how is that sitting with you?
Totally fine. Like I expected it, and I even thought it was going to be less. So it was great. We all share stage very well, I feel like. And while Clara is a diva, and Erica's a little bit of a diva, I'm not that. I get way more worried about taking too much center stage than I do about not being in the spotlight. So it was great. It was lovely. Yeah. I was gently cursing myself, because I was like, oh, Clara could have done the manipulative thing on the way home and told Bethany that she thinks she's pregnant in the car, because Bethany's in a good mood now.
Oh,
True.
damn.
Still can.
It still can happen.
Yeah, conveniently, you can start next session in the
with
car.
that.
Yeah, it might.
To. Because yes, Bethany's not mad anymore.
Yeah.
On a little gay cloud.
It's on a little gay cloud. She's not mad anymore.
That's all right.
I can fix that .jpeg.
Yeah, no, I think that Clara sat there and thought about it for a while once she got over considering how she'd manipulate David. Oh, Clara's such an awful person. And it was like, I don't want to kill my sister's buzz. I think we're going to let her be high for a little bit.
I don't want to harsh this vibe.
Yeah, she deserves that vibe. It's been a real long time. And the last time she had that vibe, Matthew and I stabbed each other. So
yeah, that is why she's mad at you, to be fair. So not harshing it.
Yeah, so she decided not to harsh that vibe, which was fine. But yeah, no, it was great. I had a lot of fun. It was lovely to roleplay with Samara again. I miss you so much, and you were
so much.
Encompass the lady in red and all of her terrifying power wonderfully.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really have a lot to say as usual. It's good players create good story, and sometimes what you do is I said it on the break, it's like I feel like Rube Goldberg sometimes, where it's just you sit down and you flick the marble at the top of the impossibly hijinks created machine, and you watch the mice scurry and the buckets fall and the corn on the cob roll down the butter slide and all of the others strange things, and you just sit there and you watch it and you go, it's fucking working. It's fucking I was in a delirious trance state when I planned this, and somehow this is working perfectly. That's so cool. And that's generally how I felt for most of the day.
It was a joy to role play with both of you. And also, because I've been watching the stream since the beginning, or at least getting caught up on YouTube, David is my favorite character. So to get that ships passing in the night moment with David, I was like, oh, someday.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that you guys don't get to know everything yet level of revelations, but there is some high-end top of the metaphysical power scale stuff that the lady in red and David, parenthetical David's bullshit, are directly in conflict, or were directly in conflict. And so if if we're ever in a point where we can unpack those in a very clear and interesting way, that's definitely going to be one of those like Inception noise, blum moments. And yeah.
My brain just goes, that's all right. Everybody can live peacefully in Metropolis under Van Horst reign.
Yes.
Every queen needs her throne room.
Yeah.
Along.
Yeah. And honestly, like it's so one of the things that I had this brain bubble about a month ago, and I realized that we don't owe anyone a future they can recognize.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like this, we are not playing in a thing where we are under obligation to ensure that this Van Horst Wrath and Tears, ooh, smack my mic, that this version of Elysium and the cult world is connected to anything else. I don't have to tie this in with anything. Although Easter eggs are fun. But if the Van Horsts destroy the world in nuclear fucking fire in 1957, that's okay. If something terrible happens and there is, I don't know, an exodus of humanity into Metropolis, that can happen. So it's I kind of had this moment where I was like, I don't owe anybody a 2021.
Hashtag give Matthew nukes.
Yeah.
Hashtag give Matthew nukes.
Hashtag
Yes.
give Matthew nukes.
And so yeah. That's going to be pretty interesting. Like once I had that moment where I was like, you know what, they could do the bonkers shit. Like there's no real reason why they couldn't go like full like shit fuck bananimals. The dial goes to 11 because we told the engineer to make it that way.
We can save humanity from the illusion.
Yeah, we can
You
totally
sure
do
can.
that. Totes my goats. We can
You
absolutely.
sure can.
That will yeah.
Unshackle humanity, but under our rules. So just mostly. Just
Yeah.
tackle us.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Van Horsts are so fucking awful. Yes, it's the most it's the grossest colonialist bullshit in the world, and we know it, and we don't, and we have said it a bunch of times. The Van Horsts are deliberately terrible so that we can put them through terrible experiences and shine their terribleness back at them in a well-polished mirror. But I was just sitting here thinking about like, man, if A through Z line up in just the right way, and we get to have a part of a game and part of a story where the Van Horsts are actually in Metropolis, and they've got to deal with that bananimals clusterfuck on the reg. I'm like, I cannot wait for the day that Clara's like, I want to go home. Can we, just like the guy from the first Matrix, like, I put me back in. Like, I don't want to remember any of this. I just want to eat steak and get laid. Like, I don't want to eat the ship gruel anymore. So it's
rulership is tough.
Yeah, it's going to be the worst. And I'm really looking forward to it. So, voice in my head, is there anything you'd like me to say right now? Okay, the voice in my head is content, which is, which I'm happy about. I get a stability back at least. So remember, to sum up, negotiation mechanics are not just for body horror; they are for things like sex and relationships too. And if in doubt, negotiate it out, and don't forget to do thumbs up, thumbs down. If you are, make sure that you're always ready to play when it's time to play, and if you're not, that's okay. So we'll see you in 2 weeks. We will see you on June 20th, where we get to find out exactly, again, we get to explore exactly how terrible Clara is, how bad the union strike was. It won't be good. And what exactly Matthew thinks about his sister's new girlfriend. And I'm sure that will be a healthy and well-reasoned discussion.
It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yep. So we are going to sign off. We're going to do a little bit of debrief afterwards. But once again, we thank you guys. Thank you, Helmgast. If anybody from Helmgast is watching this, your book is great. I had a fantastic time referencing it as a useful tool. And thank you to everybody at TTRP Theater, all of you guys, Curtis, Invisible Duke, the other Erica. We thank you for all of the work you do. We really appreciate it. And, you know, subscribe to the channel, check out the Discord. There's a bunch of good stuff happening and you don't want to miss any of it. So, good night. Drink your water.